the World Parkinson's Congress is a collection of clinicians and people with Parkinson's every 3 years that meet up at various locations around the world. So we were lucky this year that it was held in Phoenix, Arizona. So it was a little bit less of a commute and didn't need a passport to get there, which was wonderful. Previously, I actually had been to the World Parkinson's Congress when it was last in the States, which was in 2016 in Portland. So Portland, Oregon. So that was obviously 10 years ago, and a lot has changed over the past 10 years. 10 years ago, Movement Revolution had just started, and I was there really looking just to gather as much information as I could into the state of the world with Parkinson's disease and how it affects people. We had just started our Rock Steady boxing location in Chicago at that time. So we were there with a lot of our fellow Rock Steady boxers, but it was really great to be back at the Congress. So as Movement Revolution, our capacity at the Congress this year, previously in 2016, I was just there by myself, just kind of taking it all in. This year, Movement Revolution was an exhibitor, so which means we had a booth at the event to share the information that we do at Movement Revolution with people from around the world that came to our table. And we also had an abstract poster presentation, which is the very first abstract poster presentation that we've ever had at any conference. So we were really excited to be presenting some of our data on our work at Movement Revolution over the past couple of years. And so I'll kind of go over a lot of those things, but I wanted to bring you guys a summary of some of the educational information that we received, and just kind of give you an overview of what the Congress was like and kind of, from my perspective, some of the most interesting findings here going forward. So, trying to advance my screen. Why is it not working? There we go. So just a little background on what is the World Parkinson's Congress. So it was started back in 2022, hosting events every 3 years, but it's an international forum. This year, we had over 1,500 people affected with Parkinson's disease and their care partners, and over 2,000 people that were clinicians and or I would say healthcare industry workers gathered from 60 countries from around the world. So large international representation at the Congress, which allows us to really get a very global perspective as to what is happening in the world of Parkinson's disease, not just here in Chicago, not just here in the US, but what is it like globally, right? And so it was really great to connect with a lot of different people, both people with Parkinson's disease and clinicians from other countries, to see, what opportunities they have there and what type of resources they have. But the program features, everything from clinical research presentations to kind of roundtable discussions, exercise and wellness programs. So there is like 3 or 4 massive conference rooms devoted to various exercise programs and wellness retreats and massages and ping pong. And I didn't get to participate in any of those fun things, but had the opportunity to really sit in on a lot of interesting discussions, which I'll kind of get into. But the one thing that amazed me is how much research and how much knowledge is in one space when you're at a conference like this. And the WPC is the only conference that around the world that unites both clinicians speaking on clinical research along with people with Parkinson's disease under the same roof. So a lot of the questions that are asked to those clinicians can be asked from other clinicians. They can also be asked from people with Parkinson's disease. And it allows that everyone attending that conference to have all sides of Parkinson's care represented, from caregivers to people living with the disease to clinicians and researchers kind of leading the most cutting edge research. So super interesting, great experience. The WPC itself is run by a nonprofit-based organization here in the U.S. Called the World Parkinson's Coalition. So that's a little bit of background on what the World Parkinson's Congress is. The next World Parkinson's Congress will actually be held in 2029 in Quebec City, I believe. So just north of our border here in the U.S. and Canada. So we definitely plan to be there. And we'd love to have as many of our clients attend as well. So it might be even a shorter flight, slightly shorter flight than what we had to Phoenix. So who represented us there? From Movement Revolution, we had myself, and then Daisy Simakopoulos, who is our Chief Operations Officer. She was there attending with us, as well as Radhika Desai, who is one of our neuro exercise specialists here in Deerfield, as well as our data and analytics manager. And she was the one presenting all of our data, gathering all of our data. And she's done a tremendous job at helping us take all of the assessment data that we take in from all of our participants. And this is the first time we've really formally put it together to say, what is the impact? Not just from a client by client basis, but from a more comprehensive basis from, how are our clients benefiting from the services that we offer? So it's great to have her there. And then Sydney is also another one of our neuro exercise specialists at our Glen Ellen location. She also teaches our programs out in Elgin and is probably one of our primary virtual coaches. So for those of you who don't know, we do have a lot of virtual online one-on-one services at Movement Revolution. So we are just about to wrap up a study with the University of California, San Francisco on a completely remote virtual high-intensity exercise class for PD. And both Sydney and Daisy have been two of the primary coaches leading those initiatives, and they've done a tremendous job doing so. But so that's our team from Movement Revolution. In terms of staff, we had, I think, I counted just under 20 clients represented from all of our sites, that being, Evanston, Deerfield, Chicago, Elgin, Glen Ellen, and virtually. So it was amazing to see a lot of our clients there. I think everyone that was there had some very interesting insights. So if any of you are on this meeting, I would love for you guys to chime in when it comes to more of the discussion piece and maybe provide some of your insights as well. But it was really great to see even our clients that we've never met before virtually, outside of a virtual session, in person here at the WPC. So it was a tremendous group that we had representing us. This was the poster abstract that we had presented at the Congress. So in addition to all of the big presentations that are up on stage, they have what's called these research abstract poster presentations, which are, you put your abstract poster up on a poster board and people have the opportunity to go around and discuss your findings with them. So Radhika and I were able to stand behind the poster.
Can I call you in about
and discuss some of the findings that we've gathered over the past year or so. So this is, I'm going to summarize everything that we have on here. If you guys are...
Okay, well, thank you for calling. I appreciate
it. Just wanted to mute a couple people here. This data is looking at our outcome data from all of our clients and the assessments that we do. So primarily, a lot of it is looking at your physical outcome measures. So from a strength and stability standpoint, we're looking at sit and stand tests. We're looking at 10-meter walk tests. So that's a measure of gait speed, right? And so when we're looking at these measures, we're looking at a 1-year time span. So this is only data from people participating in our Rock City boxing programs from initial assessment to year 1. And so what we saw, which was tremendous, is an overwhelmingly, improvement in all of these areas, right? So people have improved in their Berg balance score, which is a pretty standardized measure of balance in assessments. We increased in number of sit and stands, which correlates very strongly to an improvement in balance, as well as lower extremity strength. And then we also saw an improvement or a decrease, and well, it's an increase in 10-meter walk speed, right? But the time itself, it becomes faster. So those are all things that we want to see, right? If you're working hard and you're working intensely, all the research shows that we should be making improvements in these things. And I'll talk a little bit more about that research here in a little bit, but it was great to see that echoed in the data that we've presented. And, what Radhika, myself, and the rest of our team here at Movement are looking to do going forward is really break down some of this data to see what are the most impactful ways that we can help all of you truly live stronger with Parkinson's disease. What areas might we need to work a little bit harder to see some improvements, and so on and so forth. So, it was great to see the hard work that you guys all do as a whole getting better. And at the end of the day, that's been my number one focus for Movement Revolution, is to make meaningful changes in how you feel and how you move every day. This is kind of validates some of that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions here with that information here in a little bit, but I'll keep going and we can kind of save those for later. By the way, this is a very small text, and we will have this poster. It is printed and it will be up at our Deerfield location, and maybe we can kind of rotate it around the different sites, but we'd be happy to share this with you guys as well. And one thing I told Christina is that I can share this presentation with anyone attending the meeting, and we'd be happy to download it and share it in the summary email after the meeting. So, so we did a lot of hard work. Radhika did a tremendous job prepping all of this data months before the Congress actually occurred. So along with all of our hard work, we did have a little bit of fun too. We hope that our clients that did show up didn't lose any of their workout time. So we had a nice early morning workout in the heat of the Phoenix summer under some shady trees, but we worked hard. We met with some great researchers, with a lot of our great clients, and had some fun at our booth as well. So. But what did we learn? Let's kind of get into the nitty-gritty here. From all of the sessions that we attended and the discussions that we had, a lot of this information comes from both some private conversations that we had with some tremendous researchers that we hope to have as guest speakers, whether that's for this support group or in-person educational symposiums. I think that's one thing that a couple of the researchers expressed some interest in, so we'd love to explore that opportunity here going forward. But so this comes from those conversations along with the presentations as a whole and what really stood out to me the most. So I think the overwhelming, the resounding message is that exercise really works. For those of you who didn't know, It truly does. And I think 10 years ago when I attended the Congress, that information was just starting to come to light. It is widely expanded in its efficacy to help manage Parkinson's disease. And there are multiple studies from multiple researchers across the world that have validated the impact that exercise itself has tremendously on being the only disease-modifying treatment currently for Parkinson's disease. The one thing that's been also echoed throughout the whole Congress is that exercise is really good, but we should absolutely be pairing it with proper diet and sleep, which I think is going to be this next wave of Parkinson's disease research. Is what is the combination of all of those factors? What is the impact of the combination of all of those factors on disease process going forward? A ton of talk about that. And a lot of that comes back to the role of inflammation and immune health. I think one of the most influential conversations that I had was with Dr. Tansey, who is from the University of Indiana. presented a lot of her research has been on the role of the immune system and inflammation on Parkinson's disease, and her insight into how inflammation may or may not impact cellular function when it comes to neurons, or even parts of the neuron cells themselves. That cellular health is incredibly important, and I think when I've tried to connect the dots into my observations in people with Parkinson's disease over the course of my career, what are the overlapping factors that cause people to not move as well, maybe have the onset of Parkinson's to begin with? What type of exposures do we have? It's a lot of it's related to some sort of inflammation or stress, right? A really stressful event, or a car accident, or something that causes a lot of trauma, or continuous, regular, or intensive chemical exposures, head traumas, things of that nature are all inflammatory responses within our body, and it has a direct impact on how our cells function. So I'm very much interested in that. Its role in the gut also makes a lot of sense with what we eat, and some of the increase in pesticides in our foods. There's a lot more research coming out about that. So my hope is that within the next 3 years at the next World Parkinson's Congress, we'll have a lot more information on the role of chemicals and pesticides and stress within the disease process and the diagnosis of the disease itself. But the good news is that exercise and what we do here at Movement Revolution truly can impact those inflammatory responses, right? It can help improve your sleep. It can help, decrease cellular stress. It can help curb your maybe some less than perfect dietary habits. So it can help in many, many ways. It can help manage stress. I think the role of stress on the body itself, whether that's physical stress, or internal stress, or like chemical exposures in foods, it all puts stress on our cells. And I think that was a major factor that I saw coming through. But I think the other thing that I saw is that we must advocate for our PD community. I sat in on a policy meeting, which was a round table of people there was a representative from Australia, the UK, I'm sorry, not the Europe in general, the EU. So the EU, Australia, Canada, and the US. And just talking about the global perspectives of Parkinson's disease and the occurrence of PD. And I think it was very interesting. There's a woman from the World Health Organization who spoke first and just kind of shed light into the incidence of Parkinson's disease across the world, and how the treatment and care is vastly different in other countries, where some people don't even have access to medications at all. And that was kind of eye-opening, considering we live in a city that has 4 major movement disorder clinics, and we have access to those things, yet still we feel that there are still gaps within those care systems, right? I think we feel that right now in the U.S. Healthcare economy and things of that nature. But we are blessed to have what we have, but we certainly still have our issues. But this discussion was all about how do we advocate for better care for Parkinson's and better resources for the Parkinson's community. Unfortunately, this is a community that is growing in diagnoses each and every year, and they don't yet quite know why or how, but they are getting closer to those answers. But in the meantime, we need to understand that to make better treatments. So I think that this was a call to action and saying, speak out and talk to your congresspeople here in the U.S. To help pass larger initiatives going forward. And that's certainly something that we want to be more involved with here at Movement Revolution, because we do represent all of you and have tremendous insights into what has shown to be beneficial. And but they say that it is incredibly impactful and important for you to go speak with your Congress people as well. So we'll try to put together more resources to how you can do that. But if any of you are interested in helping us with that, certainly let me know. But I think that the overarching message, and when you're gathering people from across the spectrum of the PD community, I think that the one thing that stood out as well is a more connected PD community is needed. When it comes from, exercise resources, resources in general, research. There's a lot of duplication of research efforts, whether that be from a drug standpoint, from a physical therapy standpoint, from an exercise standpoint. I think the reality is we have all of this research. And there's a lot of duplication of those efforts. And sometimes that's good to help validate certain aspects of a certain treatment. But I think at the same time, there is maybe, if we had more of a unified approach to this research and the data that's collected, it could be used to serve us better. And as I just mentioned, advocacy to kind of band together to make sure that the message going to governments is strong and backed with solid support. So those are my big takeaways from what I learned specifically. These are some summaries of some of the top 10 takeaways from the Congress itself. So I'll just kind of run through these quickly. I may not have specific answers to all of these, but I'm happy to shed any insight into my experiences and the conversations that I had while at the Congress. But, we were at an exhibitor table 6 hours of the day, so we didn't get to attend as many of the seminars as we would have liked. But we did collaborate and connect with a lot of those other providers to get some of this information. But unfortunately, we weren't able to sit in on every single meeting. There was a plethora of things to take in. But these are the top 10 kind of takeaways. Earlier diagnosis is coming. And the reason why that's important is because the earlier that we can diagnose it, the better we can understand it, the better you can study it, and then work toward a cure. They need to know how the disease starts in order to know how to stop it from starting in the first place, right? So they're looking at REM sleep behavior disorder as an early precursor to Parkinson's disease and other non-motor symptoms. I think if any of you have sat in on presentations on PD, over the course of the past 5 to 10 years, they always say these non-motor symptoms tend to creep up first. And we need to be paying more attention to those and maybe pairing that with other things like blood work and blood biomarkers and things of that nature to kind of flag some early detection items. And I think with the advancements of AI and technology, they're able to find some of these biomarkers a little bit easier than they were before. So that's good. That's exciting. It's not a cure, but it is a strong pathway toward one. The other interesting thing is, what they're saying is Parkinson's is not one disease. And one additional interesting note is I attended a Parkinson's conference back in 2018. And one of the speakers there, his name is Bas Bloom, and he's one of the world-renowned researchers on Parkinson's, specifically Parkinson's and exercise. But he had made this statement back then, and it was reiterated strongly at the Congress, where they're looking at multiple subtypes of Parkinson's disease. I think this is an area that needs to be studied a little bit more. I tend to see some of these variants from a lot of the, different clients that we see across all sites and throughout the years, but, different tendencies with different types of symptoms. So they're looking at brain versus body first symptoms. So that's, more motor dominant symptoms approaching them, coming to light first, or more non-motor symptoms. maybe some more cognition things coming up earlier, versus tremor dominant Parkinson's disease. If it starts off primarily as a tremor and persists that way, how does that change? Or how is that different than these other different kind of subtypes? Obviously, there are genetic factors that are present for some people. The PD gene study that the Parkinson's Foundation and the Michael J. Fox Foundation is working on. I'm sorry, I believe that's the Parkinson's Foundation. It's helping to shed a lot of light into the role of genetics. And a lot of times they're just seeing that, maybe there isn't a genetic variant that someone has, yet they still have Parkinson's disease. Why is that the case? And how do those genetic factors present differently than some of these others, right? If someone has more postural gait instability, that might present differently than someone who has more tremor dominant Parkinson's. So they're looking at all these different subtypes to kind of gather more information. Are these different diseases? Are these different subtypes of an umbrella disease? That's kind of the idea behind it. And so hopefully more information comes in about that. But cognition being one thing that needs a lot more research and attention. The role of dual tasking and processing speeds and executive functioning, like those are the things that we hear that are challenging for some of our clients that we need to do a better job of in terms of addressing that from an exercise perspective. And I think the research that is coming out about how do we improve these things, how do we improve cognition, a lot of it relates back to what I just had mentioned previously is inflammation and minimizing that inflammation as much as possible. Minimizing stress, maximizing exercise, maximizing sleep has a direct correlation to some of these cognitive functions as well. So there's a great series on fall prevention and fall recovery in Parkinson's. There's a physical therapist out of, I want to say it's Vancouver, somewhere. Could be wrong on that. In Canada, I have to find that, and I can hopefully get her information. But a tremendous workshop on fall recovery in Parkinson's. But some other research that was presented looked at the idea that falls can absolutely be prevented with the right and appropriate balance and agility and exercise training, whether that's here at Movement Revolution, whether that's in physical therapy. It's probably a combination of both, but we want to minimize those falls at all costs, right? That is incredibly important, and there are strategies to do so. They're also looking at social isolation as a real health risk factor. So, one of the phrases was connection is medicine. And I think we see that a ton within our spaces where it's this organic, natural community that we can foster, whether that's in a group exercise class or even just exercising in the same space as other clients going through similar things. That social connectedness is incredibly important. And it directly impacts health outcomes. And it affects quality of life. And at the end of the day, that will affect how your body feels and how your brain functions. So I think taking that away, we're going to try to find some new ways to help all of you have different ways to connect, maybe even outside of just a standard rock steady boxing class or a one-on-one session. I'm sorry, my numbers got switched up on me. I didn't even notice that. But number 6, not number 1, 2, is sleep, is very undertreated with Parkinson's. And this is something that I've seen quite a bit over the past few years. And one of the reasons why we rely on Dr. Malkani here at Northwestern in Chicago so much to talk to our clients at multiple different places, whether that's in person at our facilities or to the support group, because we've seen how important sleep is. And he is the only sleep specialist, the only movement disorder specialist who also specializes in sleep and Parkinson's that I have met. I'm sure there are others. He's the only one I know of here in the city of Chicago. but it is. I talked to Dr. Tansey in our one-on-one meeting, and she stated that outside of exercise, the number one way to reduce inflammation in your body is to get better sleep. That surprised me. So my thought was that it might be more related to food and dietary intake, right? But her thought is that sleep is a major, major factor. And we see it from, and I think we all experience this, right? Whether you have Parkinson's or not, if you get poor sleep, your ability to regulate mood, right? Your ability to remember things, your ability to recover from a workout, your ability to just feel better is limited, right? So sleep at night and the quality of that sleep at night needs to be better studied in Parkinson's disease, because we see a direct correlation in terms of functional ability to exercise post sleep. So I'm glad that this is a big area of emphasis here within the PD community here going forward. But another thing, number 7, care partners need care too, right? So the health of your care partner directly affects the health outcomes of the person with Parkinson's. So whether that's stress, for the person with PD, we want to limit that. Obviously, we want to prevent the progression. We also want to limit that burden within the care partner themselves. So getting them better resources is very much important. And at the end of the day, if we have a caregiver who feels burnt out or they can't care as well, that's going to put more toll on the healthcare system and healthcare utilization, which, that's why those resources are there. However, we want to make you and your partner nice and strong. So, and keep you strong too. So that's an area of emphasis for sure. Technology was definitely represented at the conference. Everything from different shoes that track your steps to applications that track your symptoms throughout the day, to AI exercise bots that are a work in progress. It was very interesting to see all these different tools that are in the works. And I think we will see a significant increase in the utilization of technology in a lot of different ways, to diagnosing the disease, to assessing biomarkers, to look at prescriptions and maybe tracing activity data, to prescription medications and symptom severity that can lead to hopefully more precise prescribing of those medications. So it's definitely becoming a larger part, and that will continue to grow as well. They were very positive in saying that disease modifying therapies are close. None are currently there, but there are a few in phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials, where they're looking at a few different ways to assess how can we best have a drug that can help modify the disease course, not just exercise. So they're looking at alpha-synuclein drugs that address the alpha-synuclein proteins, different immune system drugs, gene therapies, GLP-1 inhibitors, all pointing to more precision medicine approaches. And I think that's one of the things kind of leading into the last point here. A new model of Parkinson's care is it's moving beyond the medicine alone and looking at, I was very happy to hear this, looking at the person from a medical perspective. You're a neurologist, you're a movement disorder specialist. How do we look beyond just the prescription of meds alone and look at PD from a more comprehensive lens? I feel like that's one of the unique insights that we have as your health coach, as we see you a ton throughout the year, and how much those fluctuations in your day-to-day, week-to-week activities can affect how you move and feel. So I think the field is going in the right direction. When it comes to disease-modifying therapies and drugs, I think that's the thing that a lot of our clients want to hear the most, right? Where is the cure? Where are the drugs to help me feel better? I think that they're in the pipeline, and talking with listening in on Dr. Korkos, who's from Northwestern as well. He's presented to our group in the past. His whole realm is exercise, right? But he seems to be very encouraged of the disease modifying therapies that are in the pipeline. And those will likely have to be paired with other healthy lifestyle choices to maximize the effect of them. But it sounds like that we're very confident in the advancements that are being made. It's a little ways off, but they're getting much closer. So what I created here is kind of a summary of a lot of the seminars and sessions that we sat in on as Movement Revolution coaches. I have created a QR code for a document that you guys can access online that has kind of a rundown of some of the research articles that were discussed in the presentations, kind of a synopsis of some of the presentations that we sat in on as a team, along with some additional resources that we feel would be a great kind of wellness update for you guys. There is additional information that we will be uploading to this as kind of a living and breathing document for you. You guys can access it, click on the links. We will be adding stuff to it as we get more information that I think is going to be helpful and pertinent to you guys. The synopsis and the summary of those 10 key takeaways is not on here, but the summaries from all of the courses that we had attended and some of the data and online, wearable information, activity trackers, recommended books, information on inflammation and the gut-brain connection. Some of those seminars that we sat in on will all be kind of summarized within this document. So if you have your phones, you can go ahead and scan that QR code. If not, we can also send it out in the mailing, in the follow-up discussion, or the follow-up email as well. So that is kind of my takeaways. If you guys have questions, this is my email address. Feel free to shoot me an email. But I think we can kind of open it up to questions, and I'll go back to the screen one more time if somebody wants to scan it. Otherwise, I will stop talking and answer questions you guys might have.